LGBTQ+ stands for lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transsexuals, queer, and other identities. This is the acronym for a group of people who identify themselves as homosexuals. Over the years, people who identify themselves as homosexuals have been trying to get countries to legalize their actions. In some countries, this advocacy has been successful. In other countries, their acts are deemed abominable, therefore they are denied these rights. The latest place that the storm of LGBTQ+ has got into is the country Ghana. This came about when there was an opening of an LGBT office in the capital of the country, Accra. This action was met with a lot of criticisms and also a lot of affirmation from other people. Hi, my name is Reverend Anakwame, and in this video, we are going to analyze some of the major arguments LGBTQ+ people make to get countries to legalize their actions. Before we get into this video, if you are new on this channel, do well to click the big subscribe button down there to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any videos we post on this channel. Homosexuals argue that they were born that way. Therefore, there is nothing they can do about their behavior, creating the impression that homosexuality is genetic. Well, that argument has been shot down by a recent study. A study conducted in 2019 suggested that there is no single gene responsible for the sexuality of a person. The study says that sexuality, like any other human behavior, cannot be pinned down to only biology or to genetic factors, since psychology or environment affects the sexual preferences of a person. The study has said that genes contribute to only 8 to 25% of the sexuality of a person, a number that is not significant enough to determine whether somebody is gay or the person is an heterosexual. The bottom line of this research is that homosexuality is not genetic, since what contributes to the sexual preferences of people is not only genetic, but is also affected by the environment and in psychology. So for someone to say that homosexuality is genetic, well, it is problematic, because the latest study in 2019 says it is not. Homosexuals argue that they are predisposed to this behavior. That is why they cannot do anything about it. Well, the truth is that every human being is predisposed to a behavior. But the fact that we are predisposed to something does not mean that we have to do that thing. Predisposition is not destiny. Let's take, for example, somebody who has a long history of alcoholism in the person's family. That person has a higher predisposition to becoming an alcoholic in future. And the choices that the person will make today will determine whether the person becomes an alcoholic tomorrow or not. So although the person has that high predisposition, the person can decide not to become alcoholic, and then that works. So the fact that somebody is having a feeling towards another person doesn't mean that the person has to exercise that feeling. Because as humans, we cannot live according to our feelings. If everyone is supposed to live according to his own feelings, the world is going to be a disaster. Because the armed robber will argue that I felt like doing it and then I did it, and then no law can hold him responsible. So the fact that someone is predisposed to something does not give the person the nod to do that thing. since predisposition does not determine our destiny. Some homosexuals argue that homosexuality does not hurt anyone, so it should be legalized. Others also say that it's just between two people doing their own thing in their rooms, so yeah, it can be legalized. Well, that is just a simple way of looking at the whole issue. You see, our sexuality was given to us for a purpose. The reason why we were created male and female is for a purpose. Now, the love between a male and a female who come together to exercise their sexuality is what gives birth to a new life, and its children comes out of sex. Homosexuality robs us of that right, because male are now marrying male and female are marrying female. And if that happens, there's a distortion of what sex is. Sex is going to be reduced only to pleasure, and there's not going to be any fruits coming out of it. So in the long run, it is going to hurt us, because the human race will start dying slowly. And maybe before we realize it, it will be too late. Homosexuality also hurts our children, because in the acronym LGBTQ+, there is a T which stands for transsexuals. Now, these are people who have changed their genders. People who say that they are males, but then they feel like females. So they go to the doctor, have surgeries, and then have their genitals changed so that they can be females. The example that this is giving to our children is that you don't have to accept yourself. You are not even a gift from God. You don't have to accept yourself. You do not agree with God that God created you a male. You can just go to the doctor and then change it. And then you can become a female, and then you are happy. Forgetting that if our children cannot accept themselves, if we cannot accept who we are, then nobody can accept us. And our inability to accept who we are affects us directly, because it affects our self-esteem, it affects our self-image, and then what it does is that it makes us timid, and we are not able to get to our potentials. So there is no witness for our children. There are no role models today for them. The impression we are creating is that everything can be done, and then they have to do it because they want to. But that is a bad precedent we are creating to them. That is why I think that we hold the future generation if we do not help these people to come out of these homosexual behaviors. Now, having said this, I'll be quick to add that the fact that we don't agree with the activities of homosexuals does not mean that we have the right to kill them, or we have the right to beat them, or even burn them, or even burn their property. No, we don't have the right to do that. Homosexuals are also human beings, and then they are also children of God. We have to show them love by teaching them the values of being heterosexual. We have to be an example to these people. We don't have to be an example of violence. Then what we are doing is that we are just empowering them to do it more. We have to be an example of love of God and neighbor. So yeah, although we do not agree with homosexuals, I also do not agree with the violence against them. So there you have it. Some of the major arguments of homosexuals and why I think they don't stand the test of time. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it for your friends and family to also learn from it. And do well to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any video we post on this channel. Thank you very much, and God bless you.